taking photos individually and as a group. So Hank, once you get your award, hang tight down there if you would, please. We're going to start with the ladies from this morning. Finishing in third place with a score of 900, Brooke Saltzman. This morning, finishing in second place with a score of 928, Kira Magza.
Yeah, Brooke, my hero.
And first place this morning on the short pattern for the ladies with a score of 946, averaging 189, Abigail Starkey. Congratulations, ladies. Nice bowling this morning. Now we'll go on to our U15 boys division. In third place with a score of 893, Tyler Paulus. In second place with a score of 977, Anthony Swanson. And in first place for the U15 boys on the short this morning with a score of 980. Sorry, Joss. Joss Weems. I didn't show you on purpose, I promise. Excellent bowling this morning, gentlemen. Moving on to our U18 boys, finishing in third place this morning with a 10-16, Ethan Caruso. Finishing in second place this morning with 1094, Lucas Hersrud. And in first place this morning, averaging 230 with a score of 1150, Dawson Peterson. One other thing, when Dawson's on his way up here, these are the only three in the building to average over 200 today.
Boys.
Excellent bowling this morning, gentlemen. So just a few housekeeping things, a little bit of a reminder. Tomorrow we will be at Maple Lanes, starting at 7:30. Thanks to the Boo Birds, but I think most of the kids have to go to school on Monday, right? So we'd like to get you out here at a decent time tomorrow. Just a reminder, we are still selling raffle tickets bound by the check-in desk. We still got a Rotor Grip ball of choice. We've got a high five jersey and a number of other things from our sponsors. Remember, those tickets are good for the entire weekend. Just one more thing as you're going out to eat tonight. I know a lot of people hit some places here close for lunch, and that's awesome. Don't forget about our sponsors when you go out to find something to eat for dinner tonight. We've got the Kingpin Social over at Maple. Andy Belo. Andy, where are you? Give a wave, please. Andy Belo, GM at OP on Ridgeway, is here with us this afternoon helping us out, so feel free to go patronize this place tonight. Spend a little money with Andy. Texas Roadhouse has provided us a coupon in your check-in bags. Don't forget about them. And we also have an ice cream coupon for Hanson's Dairy in your check-ins as well. The skip procedure this afternoon is the same. We will still be skipping 2 to the right. Surface adjustments will be allowed during practice, and we will start practice at 2:15. So you've got a few minutes here. 2:15 for practice.
ball to 5. Talent. You're getting the ball to 5. Missing in or out. Then go to 12 with your feet.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bowlstream TV as we get you underway with round 2 of qualifying here at the Midwest Youth Main Event, the inaugural edition here from Cadillac Lanes in Waterloo, Iowa. Players bowled 5 games this morning on a 33-foot short pattern, and now a new challenge here this afternoon, and it comes in the form of a 50-foot long pattern. Here at this wonderful venue, we start here on 19, 20, 21, and 22. We saw a few of these players to start game 1 early this morning. Jacob Bianchi was one of them earlier today, and he is still striking. Very good shot there. There's Connor Hanna, excuse me. Molly Bramble also on this pair along with Chris Fordyce. You see Micah Jensen just taking care of the 10 pin. Paige Rawlings also on that pair. Will Hudson rounds out the crew on 19 and 20. We saw Will earlier put up a very nice 228 game in game 1. We'll take a look at 17 and 18 throughout not only this game but throughout this round. Nice shot there from Chris. We anticipate certainly the scores to be a bit higher with the longer condition, even though it is 50 feet. That's a number that can certainly scare you, but very scoreable, very playable. Having said all of that, there's still plenty of ways to kind of miss that head pin. At the end of the day, it is still 50 feet. How you attack it, well, it's weird to say because you might have a thought in mind. I mean, you know, if you were to take the rule of 31, for example, and kind of keep that in mind if you're unfamiliar with that. I don't remember or how that was invented, who came up with it. But essentially, you subtract 31 from the number, which is the length of the pattern. Excuse me. In this case, it's 50, so that leaves you with 19, and theoretically, that's supposed to give you kind of an idea, not certainly something set in stone, but an idea on where a break point could be. So if you keep that in mind, that would mean players would be around 4th arrow, which there are plenty who are already there. Playing a little fallback, certainly on the fresh. You are seeing a few players try to play a little bit to the outside and play right, which if you have the right equipment, I mean, everything's got to be right. Ball, speed, rev rate, etc. I've seen some players already have a little bit of success out there, and that was just during practice. So we'll figure out and find out what's going to take place here. I think we'll be joined by Andy Below in game 2. Andy, another really, really good player, local to the area. We'll talk about, get his thoughts on what he see from game 1. And maybe we'll get him for a couple games, and then we might end it with Jacob Bedard, who might be back in the building as well. At some point, we may also have some of the staff members for the Midwest Youth Main Event and talk about the event itself and how it came about. Love to hear from you this round also. Many of you who watched this morning, let me know where you're watching from, perhaps who you are watching, who you're rooting for. If you have a question on where they might be, I can try to help you as best as I can with that. Players are skipping 2 pair after each game. Joseph Woods, Wiseman here with an early double, looking for a 3-bagger. He's about to step up here momentarily. There is Joseph on 2-handed righty. And so that's what I was talking about right there. All right, somehow Joseph, a little bit of a higher rev rate. Not sure what he's throwing, but he's able to play a little further right than some others at this moment in time. Nice shot there by Connor. And Connor's got a 3-bagger of his own. Eric back with us watching from Florence, South Carolina. I know I mentioned this earlier, Eric, but I do hope all is well your way. Hopefully the weather did not make your life any more difficult than life already is. So appreciate you tuning in, my friend. Nice shot. Boy, Jacob Bianchi can throw the bowling ball. Chris trying to work his way back into good form. They open in the 3rd frame. I'll drop the pattern for you here in just 1 second. Wait for Molly to finish up or throw her first shot. The 5-pin will not fall. All right, so there's the pattern. 50 feet, 20.6 mils. It is a 1.77 to 1 ratio. See where the bulk of the oil obviously stops, and then it's obviously buffed out to 50 feet. Long patterns used to scare the daylights out of me back in the day. And the main reason for me personally was because I was not very good at playing in. I was more of a straighter player. And so when I would encounter patterns that were longer, getting the 10 out was a challenge. And also felt like when you get left, you had to do, extra with the bowling ball. You had to hook it. It took me a long time to learn that, no, you don't need to do that. And so watching players already just, have some success early, and especially after what they bowled on this morning, they were tough. Nice shot again. So Joseph with 4 in a row, Jacob with 4 in a row. Absolutely, Eric. Definitely prayers out to all the friends and those in Florida, again, in the surrounding areas. Hello to Ian Blake. I understand what you're saying, Ian. I don't think anyone will hold it against you, but I appreciate you tuning in as always. Molly. Youth Bowling Scholarship Foundation here in the Greater Cedar Valley, the USBC Local Association. A lot of folks involved. Angie, Matthew, Brandon, and I know I'm missing some folks, Chelsea. When you run a tournament, and especially when you're going to put on your first major, if you will, there are a lot of individuals that you think, a lot of players who, individuals who play a role in making the tournament be successful. And already through one block, it's already been really fun here. And it will continue tomorrow as we head to Maple Lanes. Here's Will Hudson. Will's trying to attack it from the outside as well. Been talking with his dad a little bit. Speaking of Will, shout out to Danny and Kayla Johnson. Hope the family is good. Both former Nebraska Cornhuskers. Big part of that program and its history. It's numerous awards, championships, etc. They both competed a little bit on tour as well. And they work with Will Hudson. And they may be watching now, kind of coaching from afar. It's a big weekend for Nebraska bowling, too, as Bianchi puts another one down. His entry angle is incredible at the moment. His ball is able to drive and continue on this 50-foot pattern. You got to put a lot of things together to make it go right, right? Ball speed, talked about that a little bit. That might be very key. Matthew Edler, who has thrown some really good shots over on 17 and 18. We'll take a look at that pair in a minute. But couldn't get a couple of 10 pins out. How about that, Micah? We'll take it. That's got to push. All right, Will crosses over, leaves a 5-pin. Firefly watching from Greenville, South Carolina. For those of you who are watching, if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up. Robert is watching from Fayetteville, North Carolina. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to Bowlstream TV. We're getting closer to 6,000 subscribers. I had a very advantageous goal of 10,000 by the end of 2022. Still got a couple months left to get there. Not trending in that direction, but it's all good. I'll make that a 2023 goal as we continue to add events and looking for different ways to add some content to the channel as well. Oh, the old back door. We saw that twice today. That's the first time from Keegan. Got to credit Jacob Bedard. As long as I've been around bowling, I've never really heard that type of strike referred to as the back door, but it makes so much sense. Meanwhile, Jacob knocks it down. Another one. He's already into DJ Khaled mode. Another one. He's got the back 6 here. Nice spare over on 15 and 16. That was Alexander, and I couldn't see his last name. Alexander Hintley. Made a very nice split. Talked about the Roto Grip gym going down the lane a little bit earlier. Part of the entry this year, players received a Roto Grip gym to add to their arsenal. Courtesy of Roto Grip, proud sponsors of the Midwest Youth Main Event, along with Guarantee Rates Brandon Steen, High Five Gear, Experience Waterloo. And the other logo you see at the bottom of your screen is the Cadillac Lanes logo. Tomorrow we'll swap that with the Maple Lanes logo. Wow. And it just continues. Pretty impressive game that is ongoing currently for Jacob Bianchi. We'll get into scores and discuss some of our leaders. If you joined us at the top of the broadcast, we started early to get the awards presentations for those who bowled or who were in the top 3 in each division this morning. 3 players plus throughout the day on the short pattern. It was Dawson, Lucas, and Ethan in the U18 boys division. Hi, Doris. Appreciate you tuning in as well, watching some of the best youth bowlers around. Forgot the amount of states represented, but I know we got Illinois, of course, Iowa. I think there's some players from Wisconsin. We got a couple of players from South Dakota, I believe, as well. Jacob, 9th frame. Oh, get out of there. All right, 4-pin, or 9-pin goes, excuse me. The 4 wiggled. And it thought about going down, but it did not. But what a nice start here. And still an opportunity to finish strong. Looking around the building, I don't see too many strings besides the ones we started with here. And Woods, Wiseman here, or Wiesman, excuse me. All right, takes care of that spare in the 8th. It's lone open at this point. And from the 6th frame. Quick look at Matthew Edler here. I mentioned him earlier because he was throwing some really good shots, but he just couldn't get the 7-pin up. He was on a 3-bagger. Hudson from Peoria, Illinois. Jacob unfortunately did miss the single pin. Jacob from Altoona, Iowa, in Southeast Polk. Favorite subject is math. Enjoys bowling, walking his dog. Favorite PBA player, or players on tour, excuse me. Kyle Troop and Verity Crawley, and there's another one down for Jacob. Fifth place finish with USA Bowling National Championships in 2019. Got his start in bowling. His parents bowled. He decided to give it a try, and lo and behold, he loved it. Pretty simple story right there. Eventually, he would like to become a PBA member and player. And I'll tell you what, if he continues to improve, but continue to throw it the way he's throwing it, and obviously improve overall, he's got a great shot. A lot of talent there, and he's going to be in the 230s. .235. Jensen, he's going to finish at 153. Look at Talon Spar in his 10 frame. Chris Fordyce did leave a 4-pin. There's Edler. No 7-pin that time. Looks like Cast and Guess with a nice game brewing over on 13 and 14. Strike spare. Then a 5-bagger in the middle. 8 spare. Strike in the 9th. He's got a chance to get into the 250s. Ollie Bramble with a 9 spare in the 10th, so you can strike to get to 179. Edler, a little quick. Boy, not a good break either. That's a tough 5 count. But nonetheless, the spare will get him to 195. $193 for Edler. All right, let's get you back over to Will Hudson's 10th frame here. He just crossed over. Gets him to 3 in a row. Zane has struggled this game here. So first shock and see. He's got a chance. Oh my. And that's one of those. You're struggling a little bit. You finally just absolutely ace one, and then you leave an 8-pin. Brutal. That's just a tough break over all over the place. All right, 201 start there for William. Or Will, I'm sorry. Will Hudson. Saw Joseph there. And Joseph just let the 2-8-10 on his second shot in the 10th frame. He'll be plus this game, however. Riley really wanted that one. That would have got her in the 200s. All right, 21 and 22 all done. Just like that, competition on 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 and 22 is complete for the moment. Pairs that we'll be seeing next, obviously, or I should say the players from the pairs we'll be seeing next. 13, 14, and 15 and 16 are almost complete. In fact, let's see if I can get you a little bonus coverage here. Hold on one second. right, 17 and 18 already into game 2. Caleb Sorensen, Trey Lawson, Ashlyn Tevis, Derek Lewandowski. 19 and 20, 21 and 22 will be starting here in just a second. All right, 19 to 22 is off and running. We'll take a look at those pairs here momentarily. We saw this group a little bit earlier today on the short pattern. And speaking of scores, if you haven't already, let's get you to, let me drop the link in the chat for Bowl Metrics results and where to find those. They do update in real time, so shout out to Bowl Metrics. I would anticipate Ashlyn Tevis to have a pretty solid performance this round too. Doesn't really do a lot with the bowling ball. And so with 50 feet being the distance, ball's got obviously a good chance of staying on line from start to finish. He's a really good player too. To a rough start here. That's a really good spare too. That's a tough one. Big spare there by Prey Lawson. All right, we'll head over to 19, 20, 21, and 22 intersect. We've got Anthony Swanson, Abby Starkey, Owen Brinker, Christian Peterson, Jackson Satterley, Damon Morton, Alex Huntley, that is. So talked about him who made a great split earlier. That was Huntley. This is Derek. Young Caleb Sorensen. We make it? Almost. Karsten Guess. All right, folks, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we would have a special guest here in Game 2. He is here, and thank him for joining us here for a little bit. Please welcome Andy Belo to the Bowlstream TV broadcast. Andy, we were talking off camera and before watching a little bit of practice. First and foremost, that you had a game to kind of watch. It's not every day you get to see 50 feet.
No kidding.
But what did you see from the athletes so far here in Game 1?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. This is a cool event to be out to come check it out. But yeah, the 50-foot, I was really surprised that people are a little farther right than I expected, even seeing a little bit of urethane from a couple bowlers. But then I kind of took a look at the pattern, and it's 50 foot, but it looks like they kind of quit oiling around 30, 32 feet. So, you know, you get 20 foot of buff like that, you can, you know, you can kind of trick it a little bit. But yeah, it's really neat though. There's lots of angles. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like 28 feet. It stops oiling there in the forward. So 22 feet of buff is a lot of buff. So it's going to break down out there. I think you're going to see some scores on this pattern.
If one is a novice at looking at a graph, and a lot of people still are,
Sure.
heck, it still confuses me sometimes. What are some of the keys that you look at? About that from Prey?
Sure, that was a heck of a pickup. Holy cow. Yeah, so, you know, definitely looking at, you know, where the oil is forward and reverse. Obviously, that's the straightforward part. But, you know, when you see this much buff, you know, once you can create a little friction, you open up your angle just a little bit. It kind of creates some hold, you know, where you can kind of trick the pattern. That's why I say that. But, you know, when you see, you know, obviously there's not very much oil in the forward. Okay. You know, you got the 7 2-2s, which, you know, obviously makes the gutter, makes it flat. but there's really no oil, like I said, being applied after 28 feet on the lane. It's just buff. So it's 50 foot, probably playing maybe a little bit more like 40. As you trick that, but that's definitely something. When you're going to tournaments, obviously you got to factor in lane surface and what oil and characteristics of the house and things like that. But when you see something like that, it definitely I think that's what opens up the angles, and that's kind of nice. I've definitely seen some of the female bowlers really look like some really good looks on this because they're just a little slower with the ball speed, and they still roll it great, obviously, and the ball's just responding better at the spot. For some of the guys that are firing it a little bit are probably seeing a little bit more of the over-under. But, it's, man, the talent in this field is pretty unbelievable. I would, when I was 14, 15, I would have not ventured very well like a lot of these kids are.
I missed the spare from Prey.
Yeah, I don't know if you see a 5 spare. I don't know if Greek Church or.
Whenever I hear loud applause and I see a red circle made, my first thought is 710.
Right. And
then you don't want to be that person that ever misses 710.
I know. I know.
But it wasn't that, but it was something cool.
Right.
So shout out to Prey.
Yeah. There was a kid in practice down here on the upper end that left a big 4 and picked up just the 710 out of it in practice.
Prey actually went to the live stream. He rewinded it to try to see if we got it.
Oh, no.
We were talking about lane conditions.
Yeah, we're talking about oil patterns. This kid's picking up spares, man. Nice shot.
Shot there for Anthony Swanson. Prey's gonna make me just watch the rest of his game now. Let's go back. Let's go back to Prey to make sure we don't miss that he does anything cool.
Right.
We'll get back to 19 to 22. That was Abby Starkey, and Abby just left the 2-4-5 for those of you who are watching that shot. I was gonna say now, hopefully I didn't jinx him.
I was gonna say, praise him, don't you ever put the camera on us?
I'm always the jinx. You are now a de facto jinx just because you stepped into this booth.
I'm used to it.
From an equipment perspective, Andy, and from types of bowling balls, you kind of touched on a little bit.
Sure.
And I was asking Jake on the similar questions on short. Now we're on long, and obviously the players you anticipate, they're bringing their tournament arsenal, if you will, right? Sure. So they probably got a few options, but what would be some of the pieces, the types of balls that you would have in the bag if you were given some advice?
Sure. So for myself specifically on stuff like this, I'm a higher rev, higher ball speed though too. So I've got to make sure I've got some stuff that can respond a little bit quicker on this type of a longer pattern. Maybe some pearlized bowling balls with some surface on them instead of being shiny. Obviously some hybrids, that'll shape up a little better. For myself, like the big, strong ASIM solids on this long of a pattern are pretty slow. And getting them to shape up in time for me is tough. But, when I'm watching some of these kids right now, they're throwing it great. You can see that they're just so dialed in with their game. They understand what their strengths and weaknesses are at such a young age. And, you see some shinier hybrids from maybe some of the bowlers that still roll it really well but just don't quite have the ball speed yet. But, it really responds well at the end of the pattern. I saw Jordan there. Landon, obviously, he's all world, but man, his ball reaction has been great. From what I saw this morning on the live stream, and now here in person watching him bowl, he's got it figured out. So, but yeah, for myself, definitely on a longer pattern like this, I need something that's going to be a little clean, but then shape up and get it to go forward a little bit. It's like I said, a pearl ASIM with a little bit of surface. For me, it would probably be my go-to. You've seen a little bit of everything. That's what's kind of unique. I said, especially with, like I said, with all that buff, it allows for multiple angles. Where if they're still oiling, 40, 42 feet down the lane, I think it might have changed some things a little bit. But yeah.
Have you been bowling much lately?
So I've been bowling a little bit. We had the big the Ebonite Open here in town
a couple
weeks ago that I performed very poorly in. I got off just a terrible start, but you know, it's kind of just a little early to be really getting into bowling for me, and you know, I've been bowling a little bit.
Early in the season.
It's early, man. You know, you get work and life and all the things that
Right.
get in the way. Where my rigorous practice schedule has not been good at all. So we're starting to get into it a little bit, though. But yeah, no, I try to take a couple months off in the summer, just get away a little bit, and bowl tournament here, bowl tournament there, and take 3 weeks off, and just kind of get refreshed a little bit. But yeah, it's bowling here in Waterloo is it's a really good town for bowling. They support it well. There's a lot of tournaments. We have lots of options. We have a really nice scratch league on Thursday nights. I think Jake alluded to that a little bit earlier this morning in the live stream. That it's starting to get younger. Which is kind of nice. Kind of hopefully making sure that it's going to be around for a while. But yeah, no, we've been bowling a little bit. Tournament season's ramping up here in the next couple weeks. Starting here about mid-October, then you can pretty much bowl about every weekend you want around the Midwest here, anyways.
Now, if I heard correctly, Matthew announced you earlier.
Yes.
And made sure that you waved your hand.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like you had an establishment in town.
Yeah. I'm the managing partner of a restaurant here in town called The Other Place. So we're one of the sponsors of the tournament. Wanted to make sure we give everybody a chance to, get some hopefully some decent food for them tonight. But yeah, so we've I help out as much as I can. They had all their meetings at the restaurant and leading and planning and scheduling of everything leading up to this. And so yeah, that's part of the other issue with my practice schedule. Restaurant business is a little tough these days, so it's a lot of hours. But yeah, it's going really well, and I'm really happy to be part of this event. It's really neat.
Break got to 146. Ashlyn Tevis with a very tough spare. The old 3-9-10, and she can only get the 9. It ended up being a very tough pair.
This pair traditionally throughout league even is just kind of it's an all or nothing. Either you've got the look or it can be a really long day. Just something with, especially lane 18 seems to roll just a little earlier maybe than what 17 does.
It's Karsten Guess, who was coming off a very nice game.
Yeah, he was dialed in there on that first pair.
Starkey will take care of the 3-pin. She's managed to remain clean, including the foul of the 4th, and did not allow it to affect her.
Yeah.
She actually did strike on that first shot.
Sure.
And took care of the spare, of course.
Yeah, she throws the ball really well. I think she did well. She won this morning? Is that?
She was the high girl.
Yes, she looked really good. She throws the ball really well. So,
speaking of that, let's take a look at bowl metrics from this morning. And we'll start with U15. I believe that belonged to Joss Weems at minus. Actually, no. Let's go back. Joss was minus 20 this morning, followed by Anthony Swanson at minus 23, and Tyler Paulus was minus 107. Those 3 bowlers received high block awards essentially for the top 3, and they did that for each division. In U18 boys, Dawson Peterson averaged 230 plus 150. Lucas Hersrud, he was plus 94, and he was plus 145 going into it. To game 5, that is. Struggled a little bit late, and Ethan Caruso went plus 16. Those 3 bowlers, the only individuals to go plus in any division throughout the day. And then on the girls' side, U18 girls, U18 and U15 girls are mixed this week. Abby Starkey led the way at minus 54, Kira Maxim at minus 72, and Brooke Salzman at minus 100. And to be dead honest with you, based on what we watched this morning, those are really good scores.
That's the average 230 on that is pretty remarkable. 230
is like
that's all world.
The outlier.
Yeah, that's all world. Yeah, that's a heck of a performance. I saw he looked like he had some sort of urethane, like a purple hammer or a tank. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but whatever it was the right option. It was dialed in.
Anthony Swanson got off to a really good start this morning too with 256. Went to a second pair. It's a little tougher.
Yeah.
But now he's found his way to a 4-bagger here. Good break.
You know, and that's really the other thing with these tournaments when you're moving pair to pair. I mean, it's really easy to get comfortable with 15 minutes of warm up, and you kind of get figured out what that pair's playing like, and then next thing you know, you go to the next pair and you're following some people that were doing it different than you were, and now it's a whole new world. And you know, that's where you really see the quality of bowlers that at this age even that they figure it out so fast, you know, and it's pretty remarkable.
Are there any players that you knew of coming into it, like maybe some local players that were going to participate, and then even maybe some other players that maybe you didn't know until you walked into the door today and said, "Wow, this person can throw it."
Yeah, so there's actually a pretty good local turnout here. Some kids, Rush Steen, Brandon's son,
sure,
is a really nice young player, excellent bowler, great kid too. I mean, even more than that, great kid. Right here, actually, on lane 19, Owen Brinker, his dad and grandfather and uncle, they all bowl here locally. Owen, hey, there goes no more jinx for me. Look at that. Talk about how many struck. So. But, yeah, no, I bowled with his dad for a long time, too. So, yeah, there's just a lot of local kids that, you know, it's crazy. Every time I go in, if I do get a chance to practice, I feel like they're there. You know, they're there bowling and just bowling and bowling, and it's really neat to see, you know, kids that love bowling. A couple of even some kids here that work at the local centers, you know, you see them bowling and things like that. So I knew of Joss before we got here. Obviously, he's when you're that good, that young, people are going to figure you out real quick, and then obviously Landon Jordan from the couple junior gold. So I was really anxious to see him bowl. I mean, so soft. It's remarkable. I think at 14 or whatever, how old he is, I was 16. I was trying to rip the cover off the ball, you know. So they're a little smarter than I was at that age.
Saw that one hook a little bit, and Anthony knew it off his hand.
Yeah. You know, and that's the one thing that I was really kind of surprised by. The shots that get up the lane a little bit, you pull it in because of the shorter oil part of the long, you know, it's only oil. You can see it kind of check up right at about 30 foot. And doesn't take much to get them offline. You know, spares, what, 1.7?
Yep.
The one, spares are tough. They're hard as it is, you know, so the cross lane has become kind of the new conundrum, I think, for most of your tournament bowlers. You know, if they're all, you know, 10 pins, or, you know, for the right-handers and 7 pins for the lefties. It's pretty much routine anymore for you know, this quality of bowler. And it seems that cross the lane, there's still not quite that textbook way of, you know, everybody does it just a little bit different. And it's definitely probably the trickier part of bowling right now.
In the booth with Andy Belo here on Bowlstream TV, watching game 2 of 5. We're now on the long pattern. This morning was short. Again, long this afternoon, 50 feet. Tomorrow's medium, and that is 42 feet. And we will switch centers and head over to Maple Lanes tomorrow. It'll be a little bit of an earlier start to make sure we're done at a decent time. School and work is Monday for parents and students alike. But plenty to still figure out here this afternoon.
Yeah, actually, you know, scores have been pretty good, because after moving pairs, that was the one thing I really wanted to see when after game 1 and you go into game 2, just kind of what if your good bowlers still seem to be doing fairly well. You see a couple maybe that dropped off a little bit, but you know, there's still plenty of strikes for this tough of a pattern. So, and probably the transitions here is going to start kicking in pretty good here at third game, I would think. You know, 20 to 22 mils isn't a ton of oil for this center, for this lane surface. It's the Pro Anvil. A little history on this. This is the fun part of being local. These lanes were the original test panels for Pro Anvil from Brunswick. They were at a center in Muskegon.
Wow.
So they are not true Pro Anvil lanes.
Okay.
They would be like the beta panels, essentially. And definitely have more friction on them than to your typical Pro Anvil lanes. And when they did some topography changes a couple years ago, tried to get some things squared away, They had a guy looking at him who I got to work with. I was working at Maple at the time.
Okay.
And the reason why he knew it right away when he walked in and looked at this is these all screw down on the 1 board, and true pro anvil lanes screw down on the 2 board. So, it is a little different. There is some more friction. So, 22 mils. I'm going to guess the house pattern here is probably 27 or 28 mils. And obviously 40, whatever it is, 42 feet or whatever. So, yeah, it's interesting. So it's hooky pro anvil is a kind of a tricky surface to deal with. If you get into the specifics of bowling and you get into lane surfaces and all that, it's probably a little closer to the SPLs of that AMF puts out.
That's interesting.
And that's what they'll be bowling on tomorrow over at Maple. So this isn't that far off. I bet the 42-foot pattern over there and this probably pay real similar. I wouldn't bet there's a whole lot of difference.
Swanson will finish with 201 after the very good break. Tripped or something came out to trip the 610 on his first shot. Unfortunate miscue for Abby. She was clean prior to that missed the 10 pin.
She's such a good spare shooter too. Man, I was pretty surprised too when that happened.
Looks like Landon Jordan off camera. He's on 15 and 16 next. He will be on 21 and 22 next. But he's got last 3, excuse me. 1 in the 9th. He's got the first 2 in the 10th, and strike to get in the 203.
Yeah, that's a big finish. That's a game saver there.
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 spares in this game with 172. Bailing out 2-0 is preferable right there.
Yes, that's a big finish there to get back in that game.
Unfortunately, another missed 10 pin, or I'm sorry, missed single pin.
Yeah, and that's too bad. Carson had a really nice first game. He looked really good.
We were talking about Jake and I earlier, and he was a little surprised that as the block went on, it didn't seem to be a lot of pairs, if any, that kind of really gave you like a true or, a breakdown that kind of hit you in the face, right? Where the lanes really opened up and you could see it, and it didn't quite happen. You think it's just because of the pattern per se? Could we see more of that maybe on this, just because maybe there's more surface being used on this pattern as opposed to what we saw this morning?
Yeah, I think definitely this pattern we will. The short pattern almost looked like it lengthened a little bit, probably with the amount of urethane that was going down the lane, and you saw some more angles start getting played at the end of the block. Where this squad, I think you're, that 30 to 35 foot range coming out of the oil pattern, and that mid lane starts to blow up a little bit. I think you're going to see some bigger moves. You're going to see people either making big jumps left or possibly even going right and trying to get right of it. You kind of already seen a little bit. Brooke, I can't remember, was it Sitzman or Salzman? Salzman. Her first pair down there, she looked great. She was, probably playing around 12, and then I just happened to look there at the end of that game. She was probably playing 5 or 6, up the boards. So I think we're starting to see some more movement already. But yeah, those that handle this transition well, we're going to do just fine. But there's going to be some people that are going to have to make some serious, I think, changes. I think you're going to see definitely bigger moves on this longer pattern.
Owen leaves the 1-2-10, but he's in great shape. He's going to be in the 220s.
Yeah, he throws it hard. He get a couple strikes the first game, but a little over about 19 and a half, and I was like, oh boy, Owen, he's firing it. He's using that new gem that he got to give it a run.
220 even indeed.
Man, that's a great score on this.
Hello to Nathan checking in, watching, and appreciate you tuning in. And all of you for tuning in here on this long pattern as we watch. Now 21 and 22 will finish up their 10th frame. Just looking across the building prior to the end of this game, didn't really see too many high scores, and high meaning 230, 240. There are plenty of games where 2-0, 2-10 look to be.
I would say anything above 180 right now is a heck of a score. That's you earned every one of those pins on this. Jackson there on 21. He's a local. His dad bowls in our scratch league as well, and he's starting to come along. Yeah, he had a rough game that game, but same thing. He's one of those kids. every time I go to the center, he's there practicing. So he's got a bright future.
Yeah, you can tell his physical game. Watching that, like, okay, yeah, it just comes with experience.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. You don't know, what some of these kids obviously travel, the Midwest and the country all the time and bowl, and then, I think a kid like Jackson, this is probably one of his first times bowling on a 50-foot pattern. He's probably never bowled much on something like this, so it's definitely a learning curve. There is no two ways about that.
Sarah Lego and a 5-pin here, a washout. Nicholas Pappas, can he make that? Oh, and almost did. It's like we're 17 and 18 is about underway. They'll be, or are into game 3, excuse me.
Yeah, Brady Steer here on 17 is a local kid. His dad's one of the people who helped get this tournament organized, Josh. Brady works hard. Done a lot of work with John Chapman and AJ Chapman.
Nice.
AJ's dad, John, is here locally. Does helps out with a lot of the high school kids. He's out of Manchester. But yeah, Brady's done a lot of work with him. He's nice young player.
I feel that AJ and Coach Steen had a clinic.
Yeah,
earlier
I think Wednesday night they had a clinic out here for all people. I think they said somewhere between 25 and 30 people. I think showed up. So it was AJ and his dad John and Brandon. AJ obviously he's as good as there is. Especially at a young age, he was really, really good. I'm a few years older than him, and he was giving it to me when he was a lot younger than me. So I've known AJ for a long time. We bowled nationals together for a couple of years. So yeah, he's the real deal, and he throws it great.
Yeah, to me, he's one of the top 5 physical games to me on tour.
The balance is unbelievable.
Like, I could just watch him bowl all the time.
Yeah. His balance is impeccable. His timing is really good, and he's really learned all the different hand positions that it requires to bowl on tour. And it's just a matter of time till he gets it all figured out.
All right, we're all done with game 2. Andy, how many? Can I steal you for one more game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here to watch.
All right.
I tell you what, when the viewership starts going down, you can kick me out. When I start ruining that, you tell me to get out of here.
Would you like to sit, too? I've been standing just because I sat all of the
I'm all right
round
standing
one.
up for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm used to it.
Okay.
Running the restaurant, we stand all day long.
That's true.
Yeah.
I try to get in the habit of not sitting all the time because obviously it's what we do, but let's stand. Let's keep the blood circulating properly.
That just got my first look there. A little bit of Victoria White down on 14 of 14. She throws the ball really well. Wow, really good balance, especially being two-handed and be that smooth is really impressive.
I was looking forward to seeing her on the long pattern. She was telling us, or I talked to her dad yesterday, and we were talking about short patterns can be a bit tricky for her as well. And she was actually doing pretty all right for the majority of the block earlier. So I was curious to see how she would handle this long pattern and everyone else. There's Griffin Jordan, that is Landon's twin brother.
Yeah.
Funny story.
Okay.
I've gotten to know the Jordan family pretty well from streaming the Elite Youth Tour in the Chicagoland area. And I think it was Junior Gold. Yeah, it was this past Junior Gold. So I crossed paths with the family a lot. They were at a center twice in the week where they both bowled in their respective division. And finally, I don't know how it happened, but I asked their mom, she was telling the story, and the twin portion came up, and I was like, wait, are they really twins? And she was like, yeah, you didn't know that? I'm like, no, and I've been watching them bowl for 2 years. And I was so late to the party that they were indeed twins.
Landon just stoned an 8-pin on 21.
Glad I personally didn't see it. I know it happened on the stream.
Pured it.
And I saw his reaction, which, that's about as cool as you can handle that there.
That look of surprise and disgust is, he handled it well considering how well he threw it. But we also got 2 local bowlers here on 19 and 20, Ansley McConaughey and Davin Smith. Ansley's dad, Matt Matthews, one of the organizers this tournament as well. She's been bowling a ton. I know she's been traveling the Midwest quite a bit with like Rush Steen and them bowling a lot. So
Yeah, she's bowled a few EYT events.
Yes.
And has come with Rush, as you mentioned.
yeah, she's a very good young bowler. She's got a bright future ahead of her too. Davin is younger. He's getting into this a little bit. He's a heck of an athlete. I know he's a heck of a baseball player. His dad is a good bowler here locally as well. So it's just cool, like seeing like all these guys that I bowl with, and then now seeing their kids out here bowling. And mine's a little young yet. She's only 4, so I'm hoping one of these days we'll get her out here. I can get her through about a half a game right now, and then it's hey, let's go to the claw machine. You know, we're still at that level. So
I can understand that. I have a 3-year-old and an almost 2.
there you go.
Dawson trying to make. He handles the count part. This
Yeah.
is Dawson Peterson. This is the gentleman who averaged 230.
Yeah. I see why. I just watching him here. I heard when he averaged 230, I'm like, all right, where's he at? I got to go watch him warm up. And I watched him throw 2 shots. I'm like, okay, I get it. But same thing, you know, all there's just they're so soft at the bottom, and they create, you know, more forward roll. You know, for the longest time, it felt like everybody, you know, especially the younger bowlers, it was get on the side, get on the side, get on the side, and, you know, and starting to see more forward roll and just understanding ball shapes, and it's yeah, it's really impressive to watch. His release is really good.
Why do you think you know, youth players, and you know, we were able to kind of figure out that change, like you just talked about, it was, you know, on the side, and that's changed a little bit. Why do you think that is?
I think it's getting away from that older school mentality. I think I was like
Nice spare,
That's
too.
a heck of a spare from Brooke.
I didn't miss that one. Nice job, Brooke.
I was about 14, 15 when I think I got my first reactive resin ball. So coming out of the urethane and even the early resin, you know, I mean,
Sure.
they don't hook, nothing hooks like these bowling balls do now. So, you know, for a while it was you were doing everything you could to get them to shape, and now they shape. You know, they're so clean and store so much energy. Even the dull stuff, you can get through the front so much better, and it just shapes up better off. So now you don't have to help the ball as much. You know, now you're a little more forward, trying to control some shape, you know, and make it smoother, and it just it's better. It's pretty close.
Yeah, that looked like a good shot from the start.
Well, that's good. When she goes back and watches this and knows that she struck when I was talking about her, I'll be off the hook. She won't yell at me. Like there, that shot on 17, they can't really on the live stream there. Brady, that ball hooked early, like really early. And he was playing a little more direct up about 10, and it checked up. There, that ball too. That's urethane, I think, on 18. So yeah, you're starting to see where the ball's leaving, where the actual oil is applied, and it's where the buff portion is. It's starting to hook. It's going to make the down lane really tight when the ball start rolling that early. It could get a little interesting here.
Nice shot, and I'm not sure if Griffin made a move at all yet,
Yes.
but you know, his angle now, he looks like he's bumped into even just a little bit if he wasn't already there.
Great shot by Brooke. And there, she's at about 4 or 5 at the arrows
Right,
now.
two different ways of attacking it we just saw on that pair.
Right. And if the mid lanes start to hook, like like what we're seeing here on a couple of these pairs, that outside shot's going to look good. You're going to get the ball to shape up a little bit. Ooh, David got that a little out. You know, walking through the concourse before bowling and just seeing all the Avalon pads laying around, and you know, they just, like I said, the technology portion of the game is just embedded in these young bowlers that get it. You know, where, you know, someone like I'm in my 40s now, and, you know, there was a pretty good learning curve for a lot of us for a while there of understanding what, you know, weight blocks and covers and all that. And now these kids, they
I think I was probably 19 before I even learned what an Avalon pad was.
I had no clue. Yeah. When I bought it, it was dull, and now it's just shiny.
Right.
That's just the way it is, you
Right.
know. So it's their knowledge is off the charts, that's for sure. And there's just a lot out there. Obviously, there's so many ways you can learn about bowling balls and surfaces, and YouTube alone, and, and watching some of the pros. I think the pros are doing a nice job too of getting on their pages or their company's pages and really just educating the bowlers. That's definitely the new wave of learning is on YouTube and whatnot. good break for Dawson breaking that up.
Yeah, a ton of resources, and,
Yes.
and credit to coaches
Oh, for sure.
who also obviously had to continue to get smarter, and they have to continue to learn to continue to coach these next generation athletes.
Yeah, you almost have to become a pro shot person outside of maybe.
Griffin Jordan.
Oh,
Wow, how about that?
yeah, it's a great break. Hopefully he uses that. But yeah, you have to kind of, outside of putting holes in the ball, you have to know everything about the equipment and understanding what the numbers mean and when they apply and when it works, and it's a lot of work.
Where would you like put yourself in the kind of, in not knowing everything obviously about bowling, but
Sure.
where would you kind of put your knowledge base of the game right now?
I think it's pretty good. I've been on staff with a company for about 10 years now, Brunswick, and so I kind of went to school myself for the same thing about 10 years ago. Started really diving in. So from the the RGs and the intermediate diffs and covers and all that, I'm pretty decent. I think it's helped my bowling game out a lot. Kind of like what you're talking about. I don't bowl nearly as much as I used to, but I still see ball shape, I think, pretty well for myself. And, I feel like I can, maybe gain some advantage over some people that don't, maybe that are throwing it even a little better than me at times. So, but yeah, going to school on that and learning that is very helpful. And specifically helping other people, trying to help them, hey, I want to get a new ball, what do you think I should get, and things like that. And if you know that information and at least understand, how it works for other bowlers, it's really easy to learn what works great for you.
Right.
But if you're going to make recommendations for people, you've got to kind of know a little bit of what you're talking about in that. So yeah, it's from the technical side of things, I probably know a little bit more than most. My bowling skill isn't very good right now. Timing isn't very good, but
You sound like Jacob earlier.
Oh.
He was talking about his spare game that has left him for a small amount of time.
Yep, Jake's a heck of a bowler. And Jake knows more than I do about bowling balls. He drills, for himself and things like that. So he had a pro shop in the past. And, he knows his stuff. He's definitely one of the guys that I talk to here in league. And that's the other thing is learning people that you can talk to, who to get advice from.
It's a great point.
Yeah, it goes a really long way. He and I.
I'll carry it, bro.
You got
to slap that one out, bro.
I like it.
You got to give me one on that one. That was worthy.
Yes. It's a heck of a shot.
She throws it really good.
Oh, she throws it great.
Yeah, I think I didn't really get a chance to kind of hone in when we watched early, but now she is really good.
Yeah, so I didn't know who she was until I got here today, and then just watched her throwing a couple shots in practice, and I'm like, yeah, she throws it great.
Hey, Tony, watching. Landon and Griffin's grandma hanging out. And speaking of Griff, here he is.
Almost tripped that 6. Yeah, and he's playing it what I would probably envision myself. I'd be playing it probably a little deeper and a little tighter to the head pin, and just kind of aim at the 3-pin, and hopefully the ball shapes up right at the end. And that's why it's I'm even learning just sitting here watching some of these bowlers that are playing farther right, and they're using surface to get the ball to shape where they want it to, and it's it's always unique to watch how people attack tough oil patterns.
Yes, I agree. Good shot there for Landon.
Yeah,
that is 4 in a row.
He's getting them figured out. I think that little.
He left an 8-pin too, right? First pin.
Yeah. Well, and and like we talked about a little earlier, that mid lane's starting to hook a little bit, and now he's bumping in and using that, to his advantage. And he's. I have a feeling we're going to see him strike a lot these last couple of games.
Here's Ainsley. Right, good break there. What I've learned a lot from. I get a chance to work on the PWBA tour.
Sure.
And I watch a few PBA events, Masters, U.S. Open, and maybe 1 or 2 others while streaming. Is in many cases there's a way and maybe a preferred way to play a particular pattern, but what I'm learning typically now is that, and I feel like it's always been there, but based on what we've just been talking about and the knowledge base and the understanding of one's game, you can kind of sneak in something else, perhaps that isn't necessarily on the graph, if that makes sense. Like you don't see it on the graph, but you see it on the lane if you allow your ball to still be your eyes.
Right.
And now players are so good they can make these things work that theoretically should work.
You're 100% right. And I've bowled some tournaments where, you bowl with some of the pros, and it's like, why? What are they doing? And then it's like, oh, yeah, they're 150 ahead of me after 2, and I'm questioning what they're doing. But when I look at the graph, or what I expect, and then that's probably, I think, the biggest thing that I've learned over the few years is you look at that graph, and that's just kind of where you start in practice. But you've got to read and react. You've got to, every center, every oil is a little different. And, what plays, one pattern might play great here at Cadillac, and then you go over to Maple, and it's impossible, and it's just kind of the way it goes.
Quick look at 17 and 18, Skylar Vaughn. We talked about Brady Steer, Kira Maxim, who bowled very well this morning also. Split to try to convert, or wash out, excuse me.
Yeah, she throws the ball really good. Oh, good shot.
Switching back and forth. Let's see if I wanted to watch Brady Steer, because you talked about and him seeing some early read.
He's made a big move left from, I would say he's probably, hey, there we go.
I want to bowl here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of slow moving 3 pins and 6 pins.
Absolutely. But yeah, I would say he's probably a good 5 or 6 boards left at the arrows from where he was when he first got to this pair. So, and he's been a lot, 2 strikes are his last 2 shots, and even the 4th frame before that, he threw it pretty good and just didn't quite make it up. That one hooked early. Oh.
Griff with the 8 count. Actually, let's see, who will go first? Looks like Ainsley is going to go first. Let's get you to Ainsley.
Hey, get up there. That's a good shot. There we go. Oh, come on. Give it to her.
And then Skylar Vaughn. Up to a really good start here too, Skylar. 3, 9 spare, 9 spare, now a 2-7. Griffin did make that spare. Griff is clean through 6. And Landon 9 spare in the 6th frame. Gianna Brandolino also on that pair. And G struggled a little bit this morning, which is surprising. You don't see G struggle often. That's the other thing about, man, when you get to the level that Gianna, Landon, Griffin, Ainsley, other players we've been talking about, and it's rare to then see them struggle, right? You don't see it very often. So when it happens, it's like, what? People start questioning, hey, is she okay? I'm like, no, she's fine. This happens. Pattern stuff.
It's tough. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here watching it. It is. It's not easy. And the experience that they've got on sport patterns at such a young age. I think they kind of handle it better than probably what a lot of us did when we were that age, when they got a little tough.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. Another great shot for Landon too, by the way. I don't know exactly what he left in the 6th, but he's going to shoot a monster here.
We can look at Brady Steer again.
That's
got
nice
a
shot.
chance.
Yeah. Just didn't quite tip.
Now, from that vantage point, right, we had a chance to see Brady a little bit. The ball was reading early. He makes the move. He looks to be closer. What are some of the signs? Like, what pin do you need to lead to say, okay, this is the zone I should be in, and maybe it's a ball choice at this point now?
Yeah, no, definitely, like we talked about, seeing the ball read earlier, then he moves in. Just kind of looking for how quick the ball responds. I'm probably looking at, the ball needs to pick up a little quicker with more angle. And that ball he's throwing, I think we both thought it was going to tip, and
right.
It just didn't. Could have maybe been just a smidge fast. I thought where he was on the lane, it looked like it hooked in the right spots anyways. So hopefully maybe he just softens up a little bit and gets into shape. Oh.
I'm on guard now with every split. After my guy Prey picked up something that we didn't see.
Yeah, pins bounce around here pretty good, so you gotta keep your head on the swivel when there's splits up here.
I know there was a 710 picked up here a few years back. I don't know if it was at a fall classic.
Might have been, yeah.
But shout out to my guy Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan, who streams the fall classics here.
Oh yeah. Mike's a good dude. He's a lot of fun.
Brooke, one more.
Oh, that one looked like it got up the lane on her just a little bit, and you can see it really jump at the end.
There's Rush. He's been struggling a little bit this game, but he'll take care of the single pin.
Yeah, you know, and that's the other thing too that we don't even think about. But I think Rush has probably grown 6 inches in about the last year. You know, and it's just you get through that awkward. Your timing gets a little funky when you're going through that stuff.
It's, yeah, his dad, Coach Brandon, mentioned that very same thing we were talking. Watching practice yesterday.
Yep.
And it brought me back. Like I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on the taller side, and but we all go through as youths, obviously, growth spurts of some kind. They affect everyone differently. And I remember the growth spurt, and you know, kind of things maybe don't quite fit, obviously, and then your ball, your swing's kind of in a different spot than it was because now it's longer and you don't know it.
And I went through. I had one summer where I grew about 7 inches, and my coordination was terrible. I was a pretty good athlete, and all of a sudden I'm falling down all the time, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was trying to play baseball, and it just felt like I was all arms and legs out there, just wandering around.
It's a really good cross when you look at 21 and 22, and Brock Alderson has thrown some really good shots this game as well. Yeah. Let's take a look at Brady again here.
That was a little tight, a little in. He's close, but he's close though. So that one shot didn't quite shape up, and he two-pinned. That one he kept it a little on line and a 3-6-10. So I mean, you're in the ballpark. You're not flagging the head pin or crossing way over or anything like that. So.
Saw that one just hang on the gutter ever so slightly.
It went just a little right in the front part of the lane. It just didn't pick up.
Yeah, like half a board.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It wasn't much.
We shout out to Tyler Paulus over on 15 and 16. He's going to join us on 21 and 22 coming up next. Tyler with double 8 spare 5-bagger. 9 spare, he can get to 257. His 10th frame is coming up. Big shot there for Griffin.
Yeah.
Griff now clean through 8. Landon continues to strike. Randolino with a double. Give him one.
Yeah. And there's that we were just talking about. You get it up the lane just a little bit on this long pattern, and it just takes off at the end.
Appreciate those who are joining the broadcast. Hope your afternoon is going well. My name is Emil Williams Jr. You're watching Bullstream TV and the inaugural Midwest Youth main event here. Our first center of the weekend, Cadillac Lanes in Waterloo, Iowa. Andy Belo has been kind enough to join me for the last game and some change. Getting some great insights, learning a little bit more about local players. He is from the area and giving us a little bit of backstory on some players as well. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already.
There you go.
It's definitely a spot on 18.
Yes, it hooks. And honestly, it's that way in league. I've seen some, but I've also seen some just absolute monster scores come out that pair. And it's, once you get it lined up and you get it figured out, it's okay. But, when you get one lane playing a little bit different than the other, it makes it, can make it challenging, especially on this. So, geez, it's hard enough as it is.
Right.
Great shot for Dawson there on lane 20. He's getting close. He's made a big move in too here on this pair, and looked like he switched balls to something paralyzed, and he's getting close.
What type of block do you prefer? Are you like a short kind of game block? Do you prefer, the 8-game block?
Probably either somewhere between either 3 or 8.
Or maybe I should ask your body which one
my knee says 3. But yeah, no, I definitely on the tougher stuff I prefer the longer block. Okay. Like I said, being a high rev, high speed guy,
sure.
When they're a little tight to start,
right.
For me, if I can just get off, if I could just get off to a decent start, keep myself in the tournament. I always feel like the last 3 or 4 games, I'm going to go get them, and kind of like what happened at the Fall here Classic here a couple weeks ago. I just got off to a horrendous start, and I was so far out of it, you know, after 3 games, and then I still went, you know, I went 40 over the last 4, you know, or 35 over, whatever it was, you know, which is, you know, on that, you know, I think it was 60.
I know they were tough too.
I think, what was it, like 51 under out of 180 bowlers. It took 51 under to make it to Sunday, the top 60. Wow. You know, there were some players. I mean, there's, you know, you got pros and
Right.
a lot of guys from the, you know, all over the Midwest that show up. So, you know, I figured them out at the end. It was just when you bowl that bad to start, though, it makes it tough.
Rush for his first double of the game.
Oh boy, Rush.
That puts him in he can still get 2-0.
Yeah, he's sitting all right.
First shot, 10th frame, Landon Jordan.
Oh.
Bang.
And he's really squared up. He's deep and playing it tight, and that ball is just going through the pins really well. You know, for me personally now, I really enjoy when we go out and bowl, you know, the USBC National Tournament, bowling 3 games on, you know, on one pair as a team, you know, and really developing a pattern, you know, and things like that, having a game plan and a strategy. I've really come to enjoy that. And even the 6 games for singles and doubles, you know. You just, you know, you feel like then you can put in a little hard work as a group, as an effort,
right.
you know, and make them better for yourselves, and it helps. Roll it, didn't quite get that 4. There's a great shot for Dawson. Wow. If he finds a way to shoot 199 here, a couple of the shots, he's going to be sitting in good shape.
Washout conversion, converted the hard way there for Jacob on 17 and 18 off camera. Brady Steer.
That's going to hook. See, I think it's just that lane. That, you know, he's went high on a couple times on 18, and then on 17, he 2-pinned, and he's not quite back up there. It's tough.
Good shot, Maxim.
Oh,
wow.
Baby.
How about that for Dawson Peterson?
Gotta like that.
Love tap.
You know,
little love tap.
You know, Dawson made a big move. He really kind of looked lost through about, you know, the 4th frame there. He was kind of struggling, and man, he grinded it out. He made, you know, once he got to that Greek church, he got past that. He's really figured it out. That'll hook. See, yeah, it's lane 18's boogieing. That is for sure. Wow, it's a really nice finish for Dawson.
Saw that ball hook in the mid lane too.
Yeah, he's almost like he's playing the lane front to back. You know, and on a 50-foot pattern, that's not. You know, you would think you're trying to throw it to a spot to get it to shape, and now he's going the other way. He's trying to get it to read through the front and just roll forward off the end of the pattern. It's really unique. But you're seeing a lot of bowlers doing that. Holy cow, that hooked really, really. See if Brooke. I think Brooke's ready to get off this pair.
Oh, what in the world?
Uh-oh. That's out of range.
Garrett Maxim just the oddest.
Looked like the 4-pin slid between the 2-8 there.
7 count there.
Yeah.
Which was on the fill. Probably thankfully.
Looks like we might need a score change there for her. Gave her 9. That's
right.
why the 3 pins are all in a row. Oh, well. Rush left a 4-pin there on 22. A pretty good shot. I thought it was going to go. Rush got his 4-pin. Got a chance to shoot 180. We always joke here locally, Rush looks like the kid from Big Daddy.
Oh, wow, you're right.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah. Especially when he was younger, man. It was crazy. Like when he was when he was 6 or 8, he looks just like him.
That's so. It's funny that you brought up his growth, and I remember watching Rush. I really remember watching Joss. Tyler Paulus is going to be on 21 and 22. I remember seeing him. This is 2020, my first real experience with the Elite Youth Tour. And of course, once you're working with the tour and you see the same players, obviously, every month, so you're locked in on certain things. And when we're talking about youth players, it's you start to realize or recognize when someone's had a growth spurt. You can kind of tell some of the physical changes that are happening on the lanes. Their ball speed's going up. They got a few more reps, those kind of things. And I remember Rush, he wasn't short by any stretch, but obviously he wasn't as tall as he is now either. Tyler Paulus felt like he was, to someone's hip, and now he's, towering over people.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't really seen him, but he's a big kid.
And it would just happen, really. I was talking to his dad, kind of very same thing that we were talking about with Rush.
Right.
One of the funnier as you watch the legit maturation of youth bowling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna steal you for one more game.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Levi Rice here on 19. He's a local bowler. One really nice thing that the center here, Rich Amy, that owns his family, and Zach Rasharner and his dad Fran Amy that own the centers. We do an instructional league in the summer.
Oh, that's really cool.
So myself, I'm kind of the lead instructor with it, but then we have other bowlers, that pro shop, Gabe from the pro shop and Rich, that come out and, we get about 5 or 6 bowlers on a pair, and we work with them for 8 weeks in the summer.
Nice.
All different skill levels. We try to group kind of like bowlers together a little bit, and we're kind of talking all the same languages then. And but Levi's a youngster that he went through it and made some really big strides. After that first one, and and that's kind of why I like doing it. You just see him. Seems like he really is getting into the sport now. He's seeing a little success with just a little bit of guidance, and it's neat to see. There's Joss trying to roll that 3.
How does the league work, I guess, overall? Like if you're giving the instructional portion, there's no time restraint per se, right? You're not worried about pace. You're trying to obviously teach.
Correct. So it's an 8-week league, and what we do is the first 3 weeks we don't really, we keep score just to say who's up and who's not, but just the understanding is, hey, we're going to work on some things. I don't want you to worry about your score. It doesn't necessarily count towards anything. Right. And then we take the last 5 weeks, and then it's based off of your average, and then we award points. So 1 to 10 pins over your average, you get a point. 11 to 20 is 2, and then anything over 21 is worth 3 points. And then we give out awards at the end, for your point earners. And it's almost always, it's that kid or that adult, it's adults and youth bowlers.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But, the ones that really make the big strides, that really buy in that first 3 weeks and are willing to try and make some big changes and, and things like that. And, it's great. It's rewarding. It's you get to help people that want to bowl, and to me, that's what makes it worthwhile. So it's fun. I enjoy it. This is my first real chance seeing Victoria White throw the ball, man. She throws it great. Wow.
My first encounter with Victoria was on Twitter. And I think she, at the time, had just joined Twitter and had posted a few videos. Twitter algorithm hit my timeline. And I was like, and I noticed where she was. She was at St. Charles Lanes. She is now living in the St. Louis area, Wentzville specifically. And I spent a lot of time in St. Charles as a collegiate bowler. That's where I went to school in Lindenwood. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I watched the bowl, and I was like, oh, Victoria. And this was right before Junior Gold, so I was very much looking forward to seeing her perform at Junior Gold. Which reminds me a lot of Danielle Henderson, who is also a two-handed young lady from the St. Louis area as well. 3 really good shots so far here for Victoria.
And with a lot of these elite youth bowlers, more impressive than anything is just their attitude and their approach. you know, they just conduct themselves so well and, you know, or handle adversity really well at such a young age. They have that sort of maturity and understanding is really impressive. Like Victoria, just watching her, you know, even before bowling, just talking, she's just such a nice young girl and polite to everybody, you know, and just, it's really cool to see. You know, we have that much talent, you know, and yet they're still so humble and nice to everyone. It's great.
I was looking at some of her attributes. Many of the players filled out like a player profile to give us some things to discuss as they kind of move about the live stream. Shout out to Ann for putting these together for me. Favorite bowler for Victoria is Belmo, and they share a coach, and Ron Hoppy, who is one of the best out there, certainly. And he and Deandra and Belmo, early on, I guess probably the early 20 teens, if you will, or doing their thing coaching with the International Art of Bowling. It's up there for Joss, but Victoria looks like she is well on her way. She finished 14th at Team Masters recently.
Yeah, she throws the ball great. She's tall. She uses her height well. Uses, you know, creates a lot of leverage with her legs and makes really good shots.
She's smart overall too. Dream occupation, real estate.
Good for her.
I like that.
Good for her.
She knows what's happening.
That's right.
How fun is it for you to see, you were talking about someone like Levi and the local players. You know, I always say it takes a lot, wherever someone finishes in the standings. You know, if this is like their first, maybe second time in this type of environment, it takes a lot to get over that hump, put the money in. You know, in this case, parents could trip for Victoria. You know, give the entry to be able to come out and compete and just kind of see where you are. To me, I always rank that maybe even much higher than most, right? Because that's a step that a lot of people don't really take. And I'm talking about adults too. Like, it takes a lot to go, hey, don't go dive into the pool.
Absolutely. You know, there's always the scary part, you know, of maybe what you see as failure, you know, or not succeeding what you think you should. But you know, just seeing people go out and challenge themselves and try and get better is it's just such a neat thing to see. And especially for a youth bowler, you know, encouraging them and helping them out, you know, and just, you know, when they ask you questions, you know, and you can see the light in their eye a little bit, you know, like that's what it's all about, you know. That's a nice pick up there on that washout.
Excellent spare. And Levi Rice, Victoria White, Joss Weems, that was awesome. Who just made that washout. Get you all of our contestants on 21 and 22. Here is White. That one looks a little left.
Yeah.
It is, and just leaves a 5-pin. Looking down to our left, well, there were a few players with they were kind of trying to start some strings. A couple of 3-baggers around, but not very many. I'll give it another frame and we'll check on bowl metrics just to see where scores are through 3 games of this round. Looks like she went with the plastic there to shoot that 5-pin.
Smart, so smart. It's
high level IQ.
Oh man, just take a lot of other factors out of play, right? If you throw it good, you pick it up, and if you don't, you don't. And it's just, you know, that's something that I've, you know, even myself over the last few years, I've really tried to be more conscious of. Is when you're bowling on stuff like this, you know, just execute, you know, and then you're going to pick it up.
See what type of move Joss may make here on this left lane.
Yeah, it hooked a little early on him last time.
There's the Joss that I know right there.
Giving it the business. I like it.
Looks like if I overheard him correctly, and his dad, Dr. Weems, is just off to our right behind us. It sounded like Joss said he took one just to be safe, so he probably moved at least one.
I would say. Yeah, that ball got up at least 3 or 4 feet down the lane more than the last shot on that lane before it hooked. So he's close. Samantha here on 18. throwing it pretty good.
Checking on 17 and 18 here in the sec. That's online.
That's a good shot. Nice shot. You know, and that's the hard thing too for, like we were talking about, people that dive into this type of stuff for the first time. They don't realize 9 spare is a great frame.
Right.
That's a great frame.
Yeah. If you hit the pocket and you threw it good.
Yeah.
Like that's
a win.
Job well done.
Yeah.
And then the second part obviously is continue to keep that same focus in regards to spare shooting.
Right.
Hook a little.
Ah. Yeah.
Yeah, just a board right. It's funny, man. When you shoot at 10 pins, and depending on how you shoot at them, but either way, right? Sometimes you just get it going ever so slightly right directionally early, and that's when you need, like, can I get 2 more feet of lane?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes those lanes get real short real quick. It really looks like here too, watching a handful of our lefties on this long pattern, it's not breaking down very favorable for them. It looks like it's really starting to get tighter. Maybe the hook's early, and then you can see the ball just really kicking forward down the lane, where the right-handers, we're starting to see it open up a little bit. And I think that's always probably for most left-handers, the longer stuff probably isn't ideal for them, where the shorter stuff, you know, they can get, you know, maybe create a little more area a little quicker.
It's Bryce Bergman. Bryce from Summer, Iowa.
Sumner.
No, I'm sorry, Sumner. I beg your
Okay, I was
pardon.
gonna say, yeah.
Sumner.
Yeah, Sumner. That's just about half hour north of here. That's
Okay.
not too far. So I think he and maybe Levi might bowl high school together, or maybe not the same school, but they live in the general same area. Yeah, that ball's online for Levi, and it just never even thought about looking. He threw that really well too.
Levi, a senior now, enjoys history. Bowling at looks to be Panther lanes.
Yep.
Favorite bowler, PBA bowler, Jason Belmonte. Coach is Lauren Sommerfeld. Been bowling since the 6th grade. Seen a couple of these similar statement. Dad, in his case, his dad was bowling and wanted to try it out, which is kind of how he got started.
Yeah.
Seen that a couple of times. My parents bowl, said, hey, let's give it a shot.
Probably one of the coolest things about high school bowling is you're seeing kids getting into the sport that don't have parents that bowl. They have a friend that bowled on the team, so they wanted to go out and try it, and now they're into it. You know, you see more and more of that, of you know, parents trying to find their way around a bowling alley a little bit, and you know, looking for somebody that can help their kid out a little bit, because they, you know,
Right.
You know, it's, you know, it used to always just be, I felt like when I was a kid, everybody that bowled, their parents bowled.
Yeah,
know?
I think, you know, and I don't want to date you, so but you said you're in your 40s.
I'm 42, yeah.
Okay, so I'm 38, so we're about
pretty
the
close.
same.
Yeah.
But yes, I think our generation's parents bowl.
Yeah, 100%.
Mine did too. My dad specifically bowled, and that's the only reason I ever picked up a bowl.
Right. I grew up, I was either at a bowling alley or a ball diamond when I was a kid. So, but I was lucky. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncles. I mean, they all bowled. So I was there, you know. And I still say fortunate that there was no automatic scoring, and I had to. If I went to the bowling alley, I was sitting down and keeping score. And that was what, you know, if I was going to go with Dad,
Right.
I wasn't.
Right.
I didn't need to go run around. But you know, looking back at it, I feel so fortunate just because you get to sit there and watch all these great bowlers, you know, and you can learn, you know, just by sitting there and watching and, you know, keeping score. And you know, I made $10 a night. Everybody gave me $1.
Oh, man,
You know what I mean? So
at that age,
yeah, like 10 years old, 12 years
that's
old.
a win.
Yeah.
Times 800.
Yeah. But then for some reason I had to start paying for my own league bowling. My mom and dad wouldn't pay for it anymore. They said, you got money?
You had a de facto job and didn't know it.
Yeah. But no, it really was neat. I think there's something to be said for that. So it's a nice pickup for Victoria there. I think this 19 and 20, kind of seeing the same thing. It looks like 19 maybe hooking a little bit more than 20, and it's getting tough.
Quick peek at 17 and 18.
Yeah, Samantha there, she's here local. She bowls from Waterloo West High School. I've really seen her grow over the last couple of years just watching her bowl. She throws it really well now.
Jack Pauls, the two-hander.
That's a good shot. Oh,
That looked really good.
it did. Like, it started to pick up, and then it just went forward on him.
He had a pretty good point regarding lefties. You know, and while I think there are a good amount bowling, it does seem to, you know, like the breakdown is not happening as quick, and obviously that's something they're used to. But even still, when you got a decent amount, I thought Ashlyn Tevis would have a pretty good block, slower ball speed. Nice job on the washout there by Jack. Josh Weems high flush strike.
Oh yeah.
Tevis, I thought her slower ball speed would help on the long pattern because, you know, she's got a little bit of oil obviously to work with, so the ball can kind of get into a roll. I'll check in on her scores in a minute. Scooby, you are correct here in the chat. Joss, both, and Victoria. I mean, if you were to, you know, look at the future, and we're doing that throughout this entire weekend, and even if you were to get specific with, you know, two-handers, of course, as well. Obviously, for Victoria, being a young woman, and that's the most common question that we get on PWBA tours, you know, from those watching. Hey, have you seen any two-hander youth players?
Oh, yeah.
And the answer used to be no. Now it's a firm yes with, you know, I can name names now as well. Ariana Araujo, who was originally going to bowl this tournament, but was unable to. She is a two-handed young lady who throws it phenomenally as well. I was really looking forward to seeing both her and Victoria this weekend, but I get the chance to see Ariana often on the EYT tour. Have you ever tried to throw a two-hander?
There's no chance. I have no flexibility. I can only imagine how bad my back or hip would probably hurt if I did that. That ship has sailed.
That was the fastest no I've ever.
Oh man, that ship has sailed for sure. There's no chance.
That shot there from Easterland, or Easton, excuse me, Wedenbrand, or Wiedenbrand. All right, Joss makes the spare. His dad just ran, he along with Victor Quintero and the good folks at Smyrna Bowling Center in Smyrna, Tennessee. They ran a National Youth Team Bowling Championships.
Oh, nice.
Very similar to USA Bowling, 4-player Baker team style event. Caitlin Valentine looking for her first strike. She'll be up here in just a second. Well, really just no carry late.
It's starting to get a little tricky, I feel like. There's some shots that look pretty good off people's hands, and they get to the pins, and it's even if it's hitting the pocket, the ball's just not quite going through the pins like it was. And I almost worry if all that surface early on is kind of making the ball pick up early, and it's just losing a little too much energy down the lane. Be anxious to see what Game 5 is going to look like. Who's going to figure it out and probably make a big move the last game.
Alex finishes with 141, 163 for Easton over on 17 and 18. Fill shot coming up here for Victoria White.
Ball change. Yeah.
She can strike for 173, but it just feels like she bowled much higher than obviously what she is going to score.
She made a lot of quality shots that game. That's pretty darn close there. That's a good guess on that ball change.
Boy, you just bottle that up right there, folks. Yeah. Remember Victoria White.
Oh, yeah.
This is your first time seeing her. It's not going to be the last.
No, it will
Obviously not going to be last this weekend, but in general, if I was a collegiate coach, And I'm sure many of them have already begun the conversations.
Yeah, I'm sure they know who she is.
That would be one of the top players on my list.
Absolutely.
Joss Weems would be one of them too.
Yeah.
Good break. All right, we'll take you back to Jack Poles here in a second because I thought what he did the last time up on this lane was really good. He made the washouts. He got the first one in the 10th.
Hey, take it.
And you saw it just read a little bit firmer. It's starting to read earlier. I wouldn't even really get past the fourth arrow before it started to hook.
Yeah, and that's with 22 mils. There's it's all on that first 28 feet, so it's going to break down. It's going to go.
Well, did Jack finish out his frame here? He's going to be in the 2-0s, hopefully. Hopefully, you're right. Yes. All right, 205. Josh's fill. 200 even.
Hey, making the adding easy. I like it.
He's actually been around even a lot today.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to be on this on these patterns.
Podolak, yes. Bella Love Castillo. Are you familiar with Bella? Have you heard? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. See
some videos. Yeah.
It's now we're at a point where and specifically to two-handed young ladies where you could kind of create a nice list. Like you could create a couple of teams if you wanted to. There are that many who are I would say known at this point, and they're known because they're good. And Bella actually is very good at. I think she's got like 105,000 Instagram followers. So
wow,
she's also very good at understanding the social media influence and impact as well.
Yeah, even obviously just knowing Rush here from locally, he's got a Facebook page, for his athlete page, and he's trying to get himself out there, for social media presence and coaching, for colleges and things like that. He wants to be known. And yeah, it's just it's a whole new world.
It is. It's funny, and I look back, I guess back in our day.
Sure.
Obviously, there wasn't social media. There wasn't what we have. The internet was not what it is today. But even if there was the best place to kind of get noticed, if you will, if you weren't sending something directly to a school, the old college bowling forum used to have like a recruit section, and you would post there. And kind of put your attributes, high game, series, average, where you live, and then kind of hope, maybe that's enough to entice some level of interest from a college or a program. Yeah. And now it's most of the time, not all the time, because obviously it's much easier to see where a good player is and try to start the recruiting process with video, with the internet, with Junior Gold, and various other events. But, the understanding of the social media aspect of it cannot be understated. So,
sure.
100,000 followers.
Oh, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yes.
We're already starting game 4. Oh, no.
That's a good shot.
Game 5?
This is game 5, yeah.
Is it?
Rachel there on lane 20. She throws the ball really well.
She does. Repping the Elite U Tour. She's got a jersey. We've seen a couple of players this weekend with champions jerseys from their respective tours that they are part of.
And that's really neat, just all the opportunities. For myself, it was the Greater Iowa Scholarship Bowling Tour, which is obviously still big around the state of Iowa here, but that was really about it, besides some local tournaments for, in the state of Iowa anyways, unless you wanted to go to, the MGBTs were kind of a thing. We're kind of getting going when I was in junior bowling. But, outside of that, you just, it just didn't seem like there's nearly the amount of opportunities. These kids could bowl every weekend if they wanted.
Correct. Sometimes twice.
Yeah.
I was talking to Anthony Swanson's father last night, and I think maybe a couple weekends ago, he bowled something. Anthony bowled Saturday and then bowled something different on Sunday.
It's crazy. It's awesome.
And all within a reasonable driving distance.
Yeah, that's so neat.
Louis Shantz, good spare. Can get to 193. Lewis, did you fill out a profile? You did. Lewis from Manchester.
So that's AJ Chapman's hometown, so I'm sure there's some influence there.
Went to or attends West Delaware.
Yep.
He's a junior, loves math. Bowling and baseball. Sounds like Andy.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Out of Lightning Lanes.
Yep.
House shot average 210. Does have a high game of 300. 777 is his high series. Favorite PBA bowler is Chris Prather.
That's a good one for us one-handed bowlers that are still left out there. I always say he's your favorite pro's favorite pro. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right.
It's so.
We were talking about him earlier, Jacob.
It's so
and I.
good.
Same
Yeah.
thing though. From starting to see Chris Prather on a lot of youth players' kind of favorite bowler list.
Yeah, he throws it like $1 million, man. That is for sure.
John Chapman, as you mentioned, and Bob Morris, coaches listed there for Lewis. He too started because his dad was always bowling. Let's see. I want to make sure I read the entire thing here. Lewis has started bowling because dad was always bowling, because bowling has always been fun. That I can get on board with.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun, right?
It is.
I think sometimes
we lose sight of it.
We definitely do. But yeah, all in all, it's pretty fun.
He would like to attend St. Ambrose, which has become one of the premier, not only in the Midwest, obviously in Iowa, but across the country. That's a national destination now for collegiate bowling.
Between St. Ambrose and Mount Mercy,
those two.
They're on the map, man. People know who they are.
Yes.
That's for sure. I mean, we got Parker Bones' son going to Mount Mercy. Brandon, yeah. I mean, in our day,
right,
when we were 18, if you're from New Jersey, you're not going bowl. You're not going to go to Cedar Rapids, Iowa to go bowl. Like that wasn't a thing. So, and obviously Andy Dirks down there does a really nice job at Mount Mercy, and then I know Eric Liddig really well. He ran the Greater Iowa Scholarship Bowling Tour when I was a kid, so got to be familiar with him quite a bit. Actually, got to sit down and had a nice 45-minute conversation with him at the Fall Classic here a couple weeks ago. And just getting to catch up with him, and he's just seeing people like that do so much for the sport. It's awesome.
Yeah, he is someone who has put in obviously the years, and I don't know everyone on the staff, so I don't want to not give credit to where it is due. The entire staff, anyone who has ever had a part of running the Greater Iowa Scholarship Bowling Tour. But I know, and I still get a chance to see Eric at various events. He's always at Team USA trials. He's at Junior Gold, and of course I see him at various collegiate events during the year. And I remember, I bowled a nice handful of those tournaments back in the day. I was telling Jacob earlier, it's the only part of the main reason why I know as many cities in Iowa as I do, because of visiting and bowling those tournaments.
Sure.
Caitlin Valentine finishes things up. She was, I think, the first player here this morning. Her and her dad. I don't know why that always strikes a tone with me, but it's probably because I'm always here at every bowling event, so I know who's coming in.
Yeah, I'm that annoying teammate too. I'm always the first one. I just got to get there and get settled in.
Game 5 now officially here. And looks like we've got maybe one pair. No, I shouldn't say that. Looks like we've got several.
Couple,
finishing up game 4. Pretty good time. We're moving right along here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the pace is nice. Obviously, one-lane courtesy goes a long way. It helps.
I was interested. Keaton didn't fill out a profile, but do you know anything about Keaton?
I saw that he's got Iowa on the back of his shirt. This is my first time seeing him. He throws it good.
He does.
It real good.
I was looking earlier.
Yeah. I'm not sure where he's from.
And I wasn't sure if that was his brother, but Jackson has the same last name. He's actually bowling on 17 and 18. They've been crossing next to each other throughout the day.
Keaton's a big kid. He's strong. Wow.
You got Ethan Caruso. I mentioned earlier he's on the developmental team for Junior Team USA.
Yeah, he throws it good.
His brother, speaking of college bowling, attends Wichita State. He is a freshman there.
They're okay.
Yeah. They're on the cover of the latest Bowlers Journal.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wichita State, so
Yeah.
if you haven't received it yet, sorry to spoil it for you, but there's a good collegiate bowling preview in that issue coming up.
So my nationals group is made up of some Wichita and some Whitewater guys. So there's a lot of fun poking and jabbing that goes on.
Especially after last year. You're right.
Oh, there was some. The group chat was
You're
awesome.
right.
It was awesome.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you mentioned John.
Yeah, Jonathan Shallow from Whitewater, and you got Andrew Ewig, who worked for USBC for a while. He had 299 in the first game of team this year. That was pretty. Pretty awesome. Yeah, that was cool. Chad Svensson, who's our sponsor as well. They all bowled at Whitewater together.
Another good dude.
Kyle Sullivan, they all bowled, and then we've got Jesse Buss and Chris Drewis from Wichita State.
Jesse Buss and Drews are in your group.
Yeah, and then Chris couldn't bowl this year, and we had to suffer for Devin Bidwell to fill in last minute to come bail us out. So
Wow,
it's a fun group. I'll tell you what. Obviously,
nice.
They're all phenomenal bowlers, but even better people.
I was gonna say,
that's what is. We
can't get a better group.
We have so much fun together.
People,
and everybody's so different too. We got all different types of personalities and people that talk a lot. Like myself never shuts up. Then you got guys that don't say a whole lot, but when we get together, we all have a blast. And it's a good time. We've got a really good group of guys that go together.
And a front six alert on 13 and 14. And that is Keegan. Sun grab. Keegan. I'll have to go through the standings just to make sure. It's Stein something, but I'll get that for you here in a second. I had a chance to, I think, John and Chad, actually, and I think Kyle, too. Our collegiate years kind of are about the same,
pretty close,
slight overlap.
Yeah.
So I recall bowling against John and Chad a lot. And Whitewater, I always tell people this, and obviously they won the title last year.
Right.
They had always fielded very good teams.
Correct.
Even going back into the 2000s. So it's pretty cool to watch what happened last year for them. Final game here, Andy, and I'll ask you the same question I asked Jake. After watching now, actually the entire block, is there anything that has surprised you to this point, and maybe didn't surprise you? Some things you expected that have played out as well.
For me, it kind of played out a little bit what I thought, just because of all the surface to start. I really thought it was going to open up the mid lanes, but then make the back ends really tight. It's going to be hard to get the ball clean to the spot to get it to shape. So I think you're starting to see some people moving back right, which I kind of thought might happen if that went away. I think Keegan's up right now on 13. Yeah, he's deep and forward.
Front seven.
That makes, to me, that's what, I guess that's how I would have attacked it. Especially this part of the block, I think that's, you got to go way left or way right, and there's not much in between for the righties.
Keegan Steingrab.
Yeah.
Could be a big game for him, 2 through 4 this round, just on the long pattern, -164. So can get a big, obviously, amount of pins back.
Big chunk of that, yeah.
While we're here, let's take a look at this is U18 boys. Jacob Bianchi, who started very well, 235. He's -31. Zach Andreessen, -49. Nicholas Pappas, -76. Those are all through 4 games. Josh Burnell at -111. Alan Stouffer, -118. Let's take a look at U18 girls. And I'm just talking about scores just on the long pattern. Abby Starkey, -85. She could actually go back-to-back. She led on the short. Keegan now with the front 8. And if he gets to the front 9, I'll go move the 17 and 18 camera to 13 and 14. And we'll watch, hopefully, a little history be made here. Marissa Mose is second, -88. Paige Rawlings at -104. Savannah Portillo fourth at -126. Riley Schillinger -127. And U15 boys, again, just on the long pattern. Anthony Swanson at -26. Karsten Guest -63. Will Hudson -95. Micah Jensen -128. You know, no player really has had a beat so far on this long pattern.
It's played tougher than I was going to say. It's actually, scores are lower than I thought they would be. I thought there would be some guys or girls that would figure it out a little bit. But I just think, you know, like on this long pattern, the pair-to-pair looks like it's just really beating some people up a little bit.
So if you're just joining us, Keegan Steingrab has the front 8. He's on 13 and 14. If he gets to 9, we'll move a camera in that direction. Lucas Herzog just made a PBA washout over on 15 and 16. In front of us here, I mentioned Keaton Vieri, Timber Stewart, Byron Christensen on 17 and 18, Jackson Vieri, Vicky Andrews, Marissa Mose, and if Marissa's mom is watching, we'll get to 17 and 18 in just a little bit. Tyler Reeves also on 17 and 18. The first, I won't say first excitement, because this morning there were 250s and 260s, and maybe some of them unexpected based on what we were watching from a lane play perspective and just how difficult it was. But no one's had what Keegan has had. I would put it that way. We've had close.
I've seen maybe a couple of 5-baggers,
right?
Maybe.
I think we had a front 6 this morning.
Okay.
And that turned into a 260 game. It looks like everyone is now into game 5. 19 and 20 is going to be maybe the first to be done, if not 13 and 14. I'll give you the radio on 13 and 14. This is what happens when you stream bowling for a living and you call it for a living on various tours. You just wait till 9 is officially in the books.
Uh-oh. A little wide.
Maybe a 2-8 there. Nice run, though, from Keegan.
Hopefully he runs. Hopefully he doesn't lose that. He runs that down, and he can make a big jump this game.
Then the overall standings, U15 boys, Anthony Swanson. Looks like there's one game that is not updated here, perhaps. But Swanson and Weems at -49 and -47 respectively. Tyler Paulus is at -107. And there's probably a handful of games missing from these totals yet. But they are right now kind of leading the way. In U15 boys, Rustine is nearby. Again, the players are trying to get to the top 4. We'll have 5 games tomorrow on the medium pattern at Maple Lanes. And after 15 total games, we'll advance 4 players in each division to their respective stepladder finals. $1,000 scholarships will be awarded to the winners. Championship belts will be awarded to the winners.
That's great.
So that's something to obviously look forward to tomorrow.
So just double check. There's no one plus right now then?
I'm going to double check overall.
I thought. I meant on just the long pattern.
On this pattern, no.
Yeah, that's.
No one is plus this afternoon.
That's tough.
Dawson Peterson looks like he might be the only player plus overall.
Okay.
And obviously the big day this morning.
Yeah.
He is plus 96 through what is 9 games at this point.
I'll put him about what's 55 under on this then. Yeah, that's still a pretty good score on this.
Abby Starkey is -139 overall.
Okay.
And that also, again, through 9 games, and she is leading the way in U18 girls.
Yeah.
That is an average of 184. Big thanks to all of our sponsors here at the Midwest Youth Main Event. See them at the bottom of your screen. But we talked about Coach Steen. And Coach Steen, one of the presenting sponsors, along with Guaranteed Rate, Roto Grip, High Five Gear, Experience Waterloo, And of course, that is the Cadillac Lanes logo, and that is where we are here today. We'll swap that out tomorrow for Maple when we get there. And then big shout out to the Hampton Inn in downtown Cedar Falls there.
Is that where you're staying?
Yes.
Great place, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben Truick,
Ben's a good dude.
who helped me out. It's a funny story about that. I called the hotel just to add the my confirmation number to my Hilton Honors. I have an account there, and the reservation could not be found. And of course, Coach Dean had let me know weeks back that hey, here it is. Here's your confirmation. We got all that right. And so I sent him an email and said, hey, they said that they couldn't find it, and that no biggie. Just let them know. I'm sure we'll figure it out. So he sent me a note back. Hey, he said, I checked with Ben. Room's there. No problem. Right under your name. Shouldn't even be a thing. Turns out, I called the wrong hotel.
Yeah.
I just looked at the map.
Sure.
And said, all right, which one's closest to
Right.
the bowling center, which is the one technically, it was the Waterloo, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just right down the road.
It's
from here,
closest to Maple.
Right.
And so that was the hiccup. So I told Coach Dean, hey, make sure you tell Ben, he didn't have to let anyone know that they did anything wrong. It was user error.
Yeah, no, that's a nice hotel down there. That's a great little part of town too.
Yeah, I got a chance to check out
Main Street there a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, the where do we eat? The Toad,
The Horny Toad. Yeah. Yep.
Sounds strange to say.
Yep. He's got that's a nice little place down there.
256, by the way, for Keegan.
I'm gonna guess that's gonna be high on the block.
It might be.
I'm not seeing any other 4 or 5 baggers anywhere up and down here. Not yet, anyways. Oh, Timber here has got a nice game going.
Quietly 3-bagger, 6-1, 9-spare, 9-spare 3-bagger, and then potentially at 239. It's just so interesting about our sport where you can watch 10 games, obviously on 2 different patterns, see 2 completely different things, completely different ball reactions. And I think one of the cooler things is that's what makes bowlers bowl and be good. Like you've got to prepare yourselves, or ourselves, if you're thinking from a bowling perspective, for what you might see, or the unexpected. You know you're going to get a variety, obviously, when you bowl a tournament with 3 different lane conditions.
And I think that's probably for even all these really good youth bowlers is just trusting your eyes, believing in yourself, trusting your eyes, and adjusting to what you see. It's sometimes we get this plan formulated in our head that this is how it's going to go, and then it just doesn't. You just don't know until you get out there and you really do it. Once you can kind of see it too in bowlers when they start believing what they see, and then they make their adjustments and just how they just catapult, And just because you see it and somebody else doesn't see it doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Right.
It's we bounce ideas off the people that we bowl with, maybe in a team setting, or whatever. But I have teammates that don't see what I'm seeing, and you just got to go with it.
That's such a really great point.
Yeah.
The one thing or one of the things I've really learned, especially working and watching professionals all the time, is kind of what you just described, where someone may not see it the same as the next player, right? It's the same pattern, of course, but everyone is taking in the information differently, and obviously translating it to how it affects their game. And so being able to effectively communicate in our sport is one of the things that I've learned is so key, especially in a team environment.
And I prefer doubles, team, trios, whatever. I've always preferred that. That's always my favorite way to bowl. Working as a group, or with your partner or whatever it is, and going back to our nationals group, the communication is off the charts. Like it's, we come up with a game plan, we get on the lanes, and then from there we just go, and whatever it is. So
Really good shot there, but 3-6-10 there for Timber from Des Moines.
Des Moines. Okay.
out of Hoover High School. He's a senior and enjoys science, bowling, golfing, and fishing. Bowls out of the Great Escape. That sounds like a cool place to bowl.
Yeah. That's one of Randy Thompson's places down there.
Just 212 on the house shot. Got a 300 game to his credit, at least one. 760 is high series. His favorite bowler is Kyle Sherman.
Hey, that's a good one. He's kind of a technician. He throws it well.
Yep. And does a lot of, obviously, from a content perspective, he and Brad. So we talk about resources.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Brad and Kyle have created a resource.
Yeah, between Brad and Kyle and then the house.
Yep.
I mean, there's, you know, Packy's my favorite. He's just so goofy when he does it. He's great. But, you know, he has fun with it, you know, but he's educational while he does it, which is really neat. So.
Timber gets to 214. His coach, David King, runs in the family in regards to how he got started. I love to watch bowling, so I wanted to start. Been at it for 13 years. Wants to attend Iowa Western or Grandview. And I was talking to head coach for Hawkeye Community.
Roger,
Roger, yes, who was here and taking in the action and watching about just, you know, how many schools now are in the state of Iowa. A lot. I mean, it went from like 0.
Yeah.
Back in my day. Maybe there was one.
I couldn't think of anything that was of any substance. Anyways, there was some club teams, you know, like that, but nothing. So you want to hear a fun, awesome story about Roger Taylor? His dad is in the Big Lebowski.
Wow.
He ran that bowling center that it was filmed at. So he's the guy. He's the guy behind the desk. How cool is that?
Wow. That's a
and his dad was
nice trivia question.
His dad was like roommates with Randy Peterson on tour for a while. Roger Taylor from out in California out there. So him and Randy are buddies. But yeah, so he was in the Big Lebowski. Kind of cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
The only other Big Lebowski story I've heard is from my man Jason Thomas, and I think it was regarding, I think Barry Asher was asked to be the bowler for some of the shots in that movie, and I think there was a shot where they wanted him, the Wachowski, what's the Wachowski brothers? I forgot the directors. I don't want to misconstrue that.
Yeah.
But they wanted him either to leave like some specific pin, and I think he did it, but they weren't happy with it. It was like you know, like, and I'm not in film, but I know a few people who are. But I can understand, like, if you're looking for that one specific down to the tee shot, you might want another take.
That's pretty tough. Yeah. I want you to go up there and leave an 8-pin. Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Right.
I mentioned Tyler Reeves earlier from Tripoli, Iowa.
Other Panther Lanes bowler there.
Zach is from Princeton, Minnesota. We had a few players from Minnesota bowling this weekend. Out of Princeton Lanes.
Those are good.
Minnesota has always come up with some really fine players. You know, overall, just thinking back historically, I mean, you talk about the Open Championships. Sure. You know, Lynn's Lakers always comes to mind.
100%. Yeah, that McNeil guy's okay.
You know, it's funny when I was talking about the Greater Iowas earlier. That was a name that, you know, that's how I first became familiar with Matt. And now we, you know, cross paths. I used to work at the OC, as you know, and so we got to, you know, have a nice little friendship. And now I see him still on tour. He's a ball rep for Storm. But every weekend or every month I'd go from Chanhassen, Minnesota, you know, first place, Matt McNeil, and he'd be bopping him, as he still does now. Some things don't quite change at all.
I got lucky. I was just old enough that I really missed Matt for the most part. But I got Joe Roseman back in his back in his heyday. So
I did not get a chance to bowl. I think
man.
a lot against Joe, but we got a chance to meet. Maybe we overlapped ever so slightly.
whoa,
Well, lane 18.
whoa, that like auto checked.
Wow. And you saw Zach's reaction. Yeah, and I mean, there's no way he expected, obviously, that to happen.
It wasn't that far. It was a little in, but it wasn't like an arrow left by any means.
I got a chance to, I got a lot of Eric Vermillier
Oh yeah,
still back when we were
Eric was
bowling
around,
in
yeah.
Greater Iowas.
Oh yeah. But same with McNeil. Joe Roseman. It's a lefty. You're gonna bowl 16 games, and we're not gonna re-oil.
Right.
Go beat him. I think all my second places were Joe, if I remember right.
His brother Dusty was bowling when I was bowling those, and so I got to know Dusty a little bit.
Yeah, Dusty's a character. Joe was that guy that picked the ball up off the return and barely even came to a stop and just kept on going.
Oh, look at Rod chiming in. We got some more Big Lebowski, nuggets. His friend Jim Hoosier, the first bowler you see in the opening credits of the movie.
Nice.
The big figure 8 backswing.
All right.
I can imagine that, any bowling movie or any movie in general, but especially obviously for us as bowlers, to be in that movie, to be an extra in Kingpin,
Right.
and you're forever going to be like, hey, now my friends can, you can be a trivia question.
We got Trey here on lane 15. He's got a nice working on about 250 there.
He had a very nice ending to his block earlier this morning too, actually. So,
Nice.
I mean, his look was like 240, 250 good. It didn't get to that point, but very similar to what he's doing now.
Sure. Look at that lane. Holy smokes.
So I'm imagining some of it is obviously lane play, and then maybe a hint of what you were mentioning earlier about specifically with lane 18 and how
Topography, sure.
it tends to hook a little more.
Yep. Yeah. I watched a guy leave a pocket 6-7 to lose a match on that lane once. Oh, if you can explain that to me, I'm in. I'm here to listen how you do that. But yeah, pocket 6-7.
Wow.
And then I also watched a 4-man team shoot 11-28. So you tell me. I don't know.
10th frame here for Marissa. Over on 21 and 22, Ethan Caruso finished with 164. And another good washout conversion. Seen a ton of washouts made today.
What's up?
Nice washouts today. That one was from Austin Espy over on 21 and 22. After 17 and 18 is complete, I'll turn the camera over to 15 and 16, and we can watch actually similar to how it went down last block here. We saw Allen, we saw Lucas, we saw Trey on that pair, and all three had some real good opportunities to shoot some big scores. Sure. Lucas did struggle on 17 and 18, but it's funny now looking back at the way he finished on this pair, and just with that nugget of info that you provided.
I mean, we're talking about it in game 2, and then you really see it come game 4 and 5. It just, oh wow, that's a great shot by Trey. Oh, I hooked up on him. He throws it really good. Leaves a 3-6. Hopefully you pick this up, get to 220. Be a good way to end your block. Allen with a 4-pin. Looked like a pretty good shot. All right, good spare. Still got 230 alive for Trey. That would be a nice score. Would be a nice way to end your block. Get some momentum going into tomorrow.
Good spare from Emily Kringles we just saw. She's got a fill shot to go. She can get to 200 even.
It's a good score.
Forgot about, don't want to give miss out on the good folks from William Penn.
Sure.
Talk about, they're not young anymore from a program perspective, but they've been around for a while. But man,
They might have been the first one to kind of really bust on the scene a little bit.
I watched them make it hard for a lot of quote unquote like upper echelon, high profile teams, and they always put together a nice squad. We moved over to 15 and 16. We're all done on 17 through 22. You can see the scores there. And again, shout out to Mick here. And not only Mick here, but obviously the proprietors as well. And, I mean, to me, everything I've experienced so far here, it's only been 2 days. It's been more of a family-esque type atmosphere.
That's safe to say. You get a great bowling community like we do here in Waterloo, and then they just, adopt, really put forth effort for junior bowling. Angie Erickson, that kind of is the main coordinator of all this with Brandon and all that. She's the youth director here in town. She runs all the junior leagues. She's the local association president, and they just put a big emphasis on junior bowling, and that's really neat to see, and it gives you hope for the future, here locally, anyways, for the sport. Now you're starting to see them getting into this type of competition. It's they make that all possible, so they do a lot for the junior bowlers around here.
127 there for Savannah Portillo. Ryman finishes with 137. What a shot.
Yeah. You can just see that ball kind of reading. It just kind of kept blending out where we saw other people hook and then just go forward on them. That's a good shot.
Trey using some of that power.
Yeah, he throws it well. That's my first real good look at him. He throws it really nice. This kind of the Belmo and Troop two-handed approach versus some of the violence of like Simonson and Jesper and those guys. You're starting to. I feel like the Belmo Troop thing starting to kind of come back into play a little bit.
There are varying I guess styles of a two-handed bowler.
Yeah. But almost more of a classical approach. The only thing is that they're using two hands.
Right. I guess the best way to describe it would be as we, the historical terms for one-handed, the cranker, stroker back in the day.
Right.
You can start to kind of get into that with two-handed bowlers. Like there's some. Oh my! Another backdoor. He had one of those earlier today. But you can start to get into that with two-handed bowlers. Like there aren't. I mean, they all typically have higher ref rates, but some are a bit more end over end. Some do get them on the side of it a little bit more than others.
But I just, that's how quiet they are at the line. They just are, smooth and really repeating and executing shots, when I watch a guy like a Simonson, obviously he's phenomenal, but it's just like, it's just like everything is just feels like it's flying everywhere when he throws it. He's like one of one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's funny about Simon, man? I just saw him actually. He bowled the New Mexico, the Cactus Classic. I did an event in Phoenix recently. And he does the same things, obviously, if we're watching him on tour. Because he can go to the next tool in the bag instantly, like without hesitation.
Yeah.
And he can, what you just described, like if he's trying to do something specific or fire it hard, like he'll be, but then, he'll be like throw it like 13 miles an hour and just loop it.
It's unbelievable that he's so versatile. You want to play him straight, you want to hook him, whatever you want to do, you can do it. That's for sure.
Well, folks, there's a little bit of bowling going on down on the low end, which we cannot get to. And there's kind of same things on the high end, but we are about done. We're definitely done here from the booth perspective. I might turn the camera for you and just kind of give you some ambient sounds as this thing ends up and finishes things up here for round number 2 on the long pattern. Andy, I'll ask your final thoughts on what you saw. We expected or maybe anticipated a different scoring pace. We didn't quite get that, certainly. But I think we still got obviously some excitement. Keegan made it exciting late, got to 256, which might be the high game on this pattern.
That's impressive.
But what are your final thoughts overall?
Yeah, it definitely played tougher than I expected it to. I think just like we kind of talked about, the transition with maybe a little more surface than I anticipated to start. Probably made him a little tricky here towards the end, and especially looked like, oh, they got a decent look, and they go to the next pair, and then that was it. So, yeah, but it's a tough day. These patterns are no joke, and I thought for the most part they handled them pretty well. They played them right. They weren't scared to make big moves. They made their big transitions and jumped way left or even jumped way right. So it's these kids are smart. These kids know what they're doing. They're well schooled for a young age, and so bowling's in a good spot, that's for sure. But yeah, this played tough. This was tougher than I anticipated. That is for sure. Thought maybe we'd get a couple of the two-handers that might get away a little bit.
Sure.
And, kind of get deep and open them up a little bit. It just, I think with the mid lane, they just didn't get that chance.
These patterns proving to be very tough, and I think obviously that was one of the goals, certainly for the tournament itself, and creating patterns, which what I've learned over time too is not necessarily an exact science.
No.
And requires some testing. You test it and maybe tweak it a little bit to kind of get it to where you want, but if you're looking for a challenge, and most youth bowlers today are looking for challenges, this has been an excellent challenge through to kind of set up for tomorrow. And then we'll have
definitely the softest of the three patterns, that's for sure. Yeah.
Correct.
And that's still not very soft. But yeah, maybe that's where we'll see. Maybe where I thought today, where games 3, 4, 5, maybe the pattern opens up a little bit, and you'll see some strikes. But yeah, it was tough. They were tricky.
We had that this morning, and we didn't have it throughout this block. And well, if there's ever a good time, it's like the fill shot, right? The opposite of it, though, you like to strike on the fill, but we'll take it at the end.
To be a small part of it and help out a little bit is great, and hopefully it's something that we can do every year. I hope they keep it going.
I hope so too, and I certainly hope to be a part of it and continue to help it grow. As well. Again, Maple Lane's earlier start tomorrow on the way. That'll do it for us here for Brandon Steen and Angie Erickson, Chelsea, Matthew, the entire Youth Bowling Scholarship Foundation here locally, everyone here at Cadillac Lanes, Mick and all involved, the snack bar staff. My name is Emil Williams Jr. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Be sure to check out bowlmetrics.com for your updated results and standings. Those will be updated in their entirety momentarily now that we've got maybe a frame or so to go here on the long pattern. This has been a presentation of the 2022, the inaugural Midwest Youth Main Event. Thank you to Guaranteed Rate and Brandon Steen, Roto Grip, High Five Gear, 7:30 a.m. bright and early. It's been a presentation, Midwest Youth Main Event here on Bowl Stream TV.